In November of 2023, the Swell Pod took a 10-day journey across 5 states, traveling 3,580 miles with one challenge in mind.
And that challenge was to interview 100 pleasantly rebellious humans to uncover deep truths about what it takes to create something that has never existed before, challenge the status quo, maybe even change the world.
This is the Kiln Road Trip, created and produced by the Swell Pod.
In partnership with Kiln, Moterra Camper Vans, and sponsored by Taurus.
I'm Spencer McKeown.
And I'm Josh Taylor, and together we're the co-hosts of the Swell Pod and your guides on the Kiln Road Trip. Follow along on the journey.
Be sure to subscribe to the podcast, follow the Swell Pod on social media, and subscribe to your YouTube channel at, you guessed it, the Swell Pod.
This is interview 50 of the Kiln Road Trip, and today we're at Kiln Boulder in Colorado talking with Victoria Olson. Victoria is the owner and founder of Expand Mentoring. Expand offers mentoring and coaching services for those in need of additional support in their day-to-day life. They address communication, daily living, and social needs while in the community with their clients where therapy alone may not fulfill each of these needs. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. We hope you enjoy.
Victoria Olson, welcome to the Swell Pod, part of the Kiln Road Trip. Thanks for being one of the 100 people. We're like about 52 or 53, so we're grateful that you came.
Yeah, thanks. I'm excited to be here. A little nervous.
Yeah?
A little nervous.
Yeah.
First podcast?
No,
okay.
not first,
Okay.
but I'm a little shy. I can be a little shy.
And probably tired, but
tired.
we're grateful that you came down. So tell our audience who you are and what you do, what you're passionate about.
Sure. I'm Victoria Olson. I own a company called Expand Mentoring. So basically what I tell people is it's kind of like a therapy group practice, except we're doing mentoring. So we work with adolescents, young adults, and adults in the community to help teach them life skills and coping skills, and really to help walk side by side people when they're feeling stuck in some capacity in their life to help them move forward.
Yeah. And why is that an area that you are passionate about, and how did you find it?
Yeah. I've been working in mental health probably for just about 30 years, and I fell into working in residential treatment when I was probably about 19 or 20 and really never left. I've worked in residential treatment, and I've worked in homeless shelters, and I've worked in transitional living homes. And, my last job, I was a program director at a transitional home here in Boulder. And they had a really heavy mentoring component that worked with young adults transitioning from treatment, from like a wilderness therapy or residential treatment or something like that. And what I found was the mentoring relationship within that organization was so magical and so special that when I decided I wanted to not work in agency anymore, I just went into private practice doing therapeutic mentoring out in the world. And I just found that, therapy's great, talk therapy's great. I think it's really powerful. And there's something to be said for having somebody that can be alongside you, like actually doing the things with you. So for instance, if you're having a hard time finding a job and you are really anxious about it, we can help do resumes, we can help look for jobs, we can help you do interviews, we can help you do all the things to do that. And I mean, we can do that really in any capacity, to tell you the truth. Jobs is just like one area. We can also do it with grocery shopping or budgeting or learning how to talk to your parents or organizing your house. We really help people in any aspect of their life that they might need somebody.
Huh. Interesting. I mean, I'm interested to know what your background is, even as growing up and how you found this area. But
Yeah, that's good.
Let's ask you that first, then we'll dive into what you do now and
Sure.
how you approach this mentoring kind of model. But yeah, tell us about your life.
My life. Oh gosh. We do sober coaching too, which I forget to always mention that.
Yeah.
And I really got here. Well, both of my parents were teachers in my high school. I grew up in Central Texas, in small Central Texas, and I was kind of a little wild one, and I got into a lot of trouble without getting into any trouble. But then eventually I did some changes in where I lived. I don't know if you're familiar with like addiction and what they in 12-step and what they say about that. But a lot of times when people, their life starts to blow up, you just move, And so I moved a couple times and went to Atlanta and then ended up in Boulder and ended up in recovery here and got sober. I've been in recovery for about 14 years, coming up on 14 years, nice. Christmas Eve, 14 years.
That's awesome.
Thank you. And I'm really passionate about recovery and working with addiction. I personally really love that. It's what I personally like to work with. My mentors work with a lot of things other than just sobriety and recovery. Yeah. But I just felt really passionate about working with young people in that realm. And, when young people are going to treatment and coming back, it's so hard to transition back into life. And like, what do you do now? It's like you go away, you get sober, you stop using drugs. And now, like, how do you have fun? Like, what do you do with life? How do I get along with my parents? How do I get along with my friends? How do I look for a job? How do I do things without using? And so that's what I feel really passionate about. But I also think outside of just recovery, you can do all of those things. We can be in recovery in lots of ways. It doesn't have to be drugs and alcohol. It can be mental health. It can be just feeling stuck. It can be motivation. And so how do we start recovering in all different areas of our life?
Yeah. It's making me think about just the word recovery and what that means. It can be in anything, like you just said. And recovery, can it be where you're not just being, I've always liked the word recovery as well as restored, like restoration and like just being sometimes it can be better than it was before.
Oh, for real?
I don't mean the same as, but just better, richer, more beautiful than it. But what does it make you think?
Well, absolutely. I think, one of my biggest challenges when I got sober and into recovery is I was like, I'm never going to have fun ever again, ever. I'm never going to have fun. Life's going to suck. How do I do anything without drinking? Everybody in the world drinks. And how do I do that now? And now, like, I probably have way more fun than I ever used to. I go out dancing like every single weekend. I'm pretty into like the EDM scene, which is hilarious. And, I like things are so much richer and my relationships are so much deeper. And I just look at the world differently. And, I have some time on me too, and I'm a little older. So, it's just been, I'm not going to say it's been easy. It's definitely like, it can be a roller coaster at times, just like life is life. Right. But the best thing about it is I remember so much more. My experiences are just richer. And so I just think that, the way you can show up in the world is so different than when you're using.
Yeah. And you're showing up in a way that's more insightful than it was actually prior as well, because you got the experience.
There's a lot of experience.
The empathy, the understanding.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Over to you.
Yeah, no. So as far as the mentorship component, so did you say it was a group mentorship or is it a one-on-one mentorship?
We do one-on-one sessions, kind of like you do in therapy. Like you have a therapist that you go to and you go talk to, and we do one-on-one mentoring. Right. Okay. And so I have about 13 mentors right now that work for me. I have one full-time admissions and staff who also works out of Kiln, and two more administrative people. But most of us, and I see some very few these days, right? These days I'm more running my business. I also do sober coaching, and I also do high conflict divorce coaching, me personally. My business, my mentors, they actually, like, we don't do offices. We actually work out in the world with people. So we go to their houses, we go to yoga rooms, we go to hiking trails, we go to grocery stores. So we're out in the world with people.
And how many mentors do you have right now?
About 13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, So how long has your business, when did your business start, I guess?
This January will be 10 years.
Oh, no way.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And are you continuing to grow, continuing to get more mentors?
I am. I actually just hired 4 new people.
Yeah.
Therapeutic mentoring isn't a well-known field.
Yeah.
So people aren't necessarily looking for what we have. So we have to do a lot of education. People aren't typing into Google therapeutic mentors.
Right.
But there are, especially in Boulder, in this area, there's a lot more people doing what we do. And actually all over the country they are. Some of them call themselves coaches, but the coaches field is...
Is there thinking about therapy and then going into mentorship, is there a handoff? Do you have partners that you work with where somebody might go through therapy and then they come to you and like, okay, we're gonna,
Yeah, I started my whole career of my business by networking with therapists. And so that's where we get majority of our referrals is we work alongside therapists. So, like you can go to therapy and you can talk in therapy about like your issues and what's coming up for you, but therapists don't go out into the world with you to do things, nor should they. And so a lot of times they'll refer to us to actually help put into action what they're working with in therapy. So that would be majority of our referral partners are therapists, but then we also get referrals from treatment facilities and rehabs and educational consultants around the country.
Yeah, it's really interesting. This is an interesting one, I think, this conversation, because I if I can just be completely honest, I have trouble trying to figure out exactly what to ask. Also, there's been addiction in my family, so I'm really trying to think carefully about this one. But thinking about we usually ask about challenges. I'll ask it from a business perspective, but what are some of the bigger challenges that you faced in your business as you've grown it over the last 10 years? And how did you overcome those challenges?
Oh my gosh, it's such a good question. There's 2 probably. One of the big ones is working with parents. Anybody that knows me knows it is like my nemesis. Working with parents of young people can be really, really challenging, mainly because many times when we get a referral, we're getting a call from a parent to work with their young person, being an adolescent or a young adult, and their thought pattern is fix my kid. But that's not always, that's not what we're doing. We're not fixing anybody's kid. And sometimes like the whole system needs to look and see what's happening within the system. And then the parents a lot of times need to do things different. And, parents, including myself, I have 4 teenagers. It can be really hard to like look at ourselves and how we're showing up in relationship to our children or to our young people, and really taking responsibility for our part of how their kid is showing up. So that's the first thing. It's really challenging for me. The second thing in terms of business, managing employees. It's so hard. It is so hard. I have really great staff and good relationships with my staff, and I do try to be a different kind of boss because I've had a lot of not awesome bosses in my life. And I've said, I'm like your parents, right? I'm never going to be my parents. Right. I'm never going to be that boss. And I really try hard not to do that. And I've had to learn, like, just because you want to have good relationships with your staff doesn't mean you can't, that you cannot hold them accountable. So you still have to do things like hold them accountable and put reporting systems in place and actually hold them accountable for doing their job in the way that represents you well. Because what we do, I feel like, is really important, and they are representing me and my business, and I don't get to be with them every day when they're doing the work. So I can't see what's happening in the world. And so the only way for me to do that is by meeting with them and holding them accountable and having reporting systems in place. And I didn't know that way back when. When I just started my business, it was just me doing the thing, and then started hiring people, not really understanding that also takes management. Just because I'm a good mentor doesn't mean I can run a great business.
Yeah.
I think I've learned a lot. I have a great business coach that's helped me over the last 7 or 8 years now. But that was hard. That was a really big lesson for me to learn, was how to manage my employees.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Can I just ask, going back to, I realize we're about to run out of time, but I am interested in this, and maybe some of the people who are listening as well would be interested in this, but the parents, fix my child. I'm just wondering, how do you approach that? Like when they come to you and they say, can you fix my child? It seems like there's a large perspective shift that needs to happen in that situation. I'm just wondering, like, any advice or anything that you can say to maybe help.
I refer to parent coaches.
Yeah, okay.
And that's true. That typically tends to be, we really try to say, this is a systems thing. It's not just about your kid doing something different. Everybody needs to look at it. Everybody needs to look how they can do things differently, and really reinforcing the relationship. I'm a huge believer in relationship first, and that is really how I do everything. And so if you can get that through to parents, that how do you be in relationship with your kid in a different way, and learning how to do that, I think is really important. And honestly, after your kid's like a teenager or in their 20s, like, you have to do it differently. And after they've come from treatment, or to keep them out of treatment, like, they also have to do things differently. And so we really suggest that. And the other thing that we try to tell families and parents is just to realize that, like, change takes time. Like, I'm not going to fix anybody in a month. I'm not going to fix anybody, period. Like, the young person's going to they're going to make changes in their life, but they, the parents, if they can realize, like, it took 18 years for your kid, like, to show up this way, it's going to take a little bit of time for them to do some things differently.
Yeah.
So levels, just setting the right expectations.
Yes, that's right.
Anything else?
No,
I think I could ask a ton of questions, like you said, but we've run out of time. Oh gosh, let me just think about this.
Question.
You mean the question?
No, if you haven't.
Well, it's just just remind us or clarify how this therapeutic mentor, did you call it group mentor, is different, whether or not it's you because you approach it differently within your own experience, or just that term therapeutic counts mentoring versus another method out there. What is different about it?
I would say the biggest difference is we're really concentrating on the now and the future, and how you want to show up in the world and who you want to be in the world, not based on what happened in your life in the past. That's what therapists do more so, and we're really more concentrating on the now.
Now that makes me think about the book Atomic Habits, where it was a nice kind of message. I think it was that one and maybe another one, but it said, who do you want to become?
That's right.
Like, pick goals and micro habits that will help you become something different. That's quite a different way of thinking. Just setting a new goal because you want to get to a goal of a certain amount of money, or a certain job, or a certain objective or outcome. Actually, who do you want to become?
Right. It's like, who do you want to become? And what are the the atomic habits that you're talking about? It's like the tiny little micro movements that you can make today, like, that are very little. Like, you have the big idea of who do you want to become, but that can be like too big and grandiose for people. So what is it, like, what's one tiny thing that I can do today? And for instance, if it's like you're looking for a job, or you want to get a job and you want to make this money, okay, well, maybe today I just look at Indeed.
Right.
And that's it. I just look,
Yeah, that's great. Well, I'm impressed by how you've approached things and what you've achieved and what you're still achieving. And you probably have a vision for where you want. You just carry on going the way you are, or are you going to try to build an empire of 1,000 mentors? What are you trying to do?
That. I have an old boss that told me to stay small. Once he told me to stay small because then I can manage it more. And honestly, I've never really had to move out of Boulder County. We do enough business in the Boulder County. I mean, we do outside of Boulder County too, but honestly, like, I like choice and freedom. And like I said, I have 4 teenagers at home. I like to spend time with them. And so I actually really concentrate on what I want my life to look like. And build my empire, if you will, around that.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
And not what someone else wants it to be like or what it could be like. I mean, you've built what you want and what you need. I like that.
Yeah, it's really good. So EDM music, though. I know I'm trying to wrap up, but I'm really interested in this.
I'm so into it. I'm very into house music.
I love house music from the 80s. Big in England. House music.
That's awesome. Before we get into the rest of the episode, we want to thank the partners and sponsors who made the Kiln Road Trip possible. The Kiln Road Trip is brought to you by Kiln. Kiln is a boutique co-working and flex office community with 13 locations in 6 states across the West, dedicated to providing innovative workspaces that empower your team to thrive. Whether you're a solo visionary or an enterprise-level team of up to 100, Kiln transcends being merely a place to work. It's a hub for learning and connecting with like-minded professionals that will make you and your team love where you work.
And if you haven't stepped foot inside a kiln yet, you really need to. On this road trip, we visited every single location, and trust us when we say once you see these beautifully designed spaces, meet the talented team, and connect with fellow members, you won't want to work anywhere else.
Locations include Utah, Colorado, Idaho, Oregon, California, and Arizona. And they're growing too, with multiple locations set to open in 2024.
Yeah, so be sure to check out the kiln locations nearest you by booking a tour at Kiln.com and answer Swell in the question, how did you hear about us? Once you complete the tour, you'll be entered into a competition where you could win a 1-year membership, their club membership at Kiln.
Yep, you heard that. That's Kiln.com, book a tour, and be sure to mention Swell in the question, how did you hear about us?
The Kiln Road Trip is also brought to you by Moterra Campervans, a luxury campervan rental company for iconic road trips. Their top-of-the-line vans are available at 7 locations located near America's best outdoor adventure destinations. They have consistently earned the highest customer ratings in the industry, making Moterra Campervans your gateway to adventure without sacrificing on comfort or service.
That's true, and initially we wanted to take this journey in a 1960s VW bus, but thankfully we found Moterra instead. With 3 van options, we took the Pop Top Classic, which sleeps 4 and is best for those who want to maximize floor space and storage. This was critical for us because it needed to sleep the entire crew, we needed space to edit, and we were traveling with large amounts of equipment, luggage, and other goodies that we picked up along the way.
And this van took us through all 3,580 miles of the trip. Super comfortable and sweet to drive.
And actually, Moterra offers fully planned itineraries if you'd rather leave the planning to someone else.
Visit gomoterra.com/swell. That's gomoterra.com/swell.
This episode is also brought to you by Taurus. Taurus is leading the charge in home energy storage. Taurus makes it easy to achieve energy independence and a greener tomorrow. The Taurus Station provides everything you need to generate clean power, efficiently store electricity, and easily manage your energy use.
And installing a Taurus Station offers plenty of benefits, including save money on your electricity bill,
also ensure energy security with backup power during outages,
reduce carbon emissions with renewables.
You can also automate EV charging and HVAC systems with 100% renewables,
and enjoy unrivaled system monitoring and support.
If you like the sound of those benefits, get a quote to build your Taurus station in less than 30 seconds. Super easy at taurus.co. That's TORUS.co. Now, let's get back to the episode. Sorry, so we do have 2 final wrap-up questions.
Okay.
One is, so do you work out of Kiln?
I do.
So how is Kiln? What has Kiln's role been in helping you do what you need to do, I guess?
Oh my gosh, I was working from home like my entire career. I've worked from home. Yeah. And then my husband is also self-employed, and so during COVID we've both been home. And he can be kind of a whirlwind. He works in construction, and so honestly, like Kiln, like help me get out of the house and makes me get dressed every day and not just wear leggings and yoga pants. And actually to have somewhat a flexible, real working hours, and to have some separation from working out of my office, because you can work too much that way.
Yeah, 100%.
How would you describe Kiln then? I mean, obviously it's beautiful. It gives you peace and quiet, but
You know what I really, because I've looked at other co-working spaces in the area. I've looked at all of them. And this one, there's a feeling to it that just feels vibrant and fun and personable. And like I belong somewhere. It's not just some place to go work. Like people talk to each other. People don't talk to each other. There's events, there's food. I mean, I've thought about getting an office and just being in an office, but honestly, like being around people where there's movement is more energizing.
There we go. First person that said they feel like they belong within this environment, and the value of movement that you seem to feel here. It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I loved it. Want to do the final one?
Yeah. So advice for those that are out there. I'm kind of pointing as if they're right now listening. But advice to people that are trying to create something that never existed before, like you have done, and to create a movement. And I know you're not trying to create a movement across the entire world here, but you have created something that has created that momentum within Boulder for your customers, for the people you work with. What's your advice for those people that are trying to do that?
Oh, trust yourself. I would say trust yourself and seek support, and networking. I think, because I'm a little bit shy, like I do really well one-on-one, but thinking about like reaching out to people and talking to people is really scary. But I think that has really helped me be like way more successful than I ever thought I would be, is by developing relationships with people. I think the more that you can develop meaningful relationships with people, like the better you're going to do in business. Like meaningful relationships, not just I know this person, like actually meaningful ones.
That's another conversation we could ask about that, how you do that. But no, that's good. That's the goal. Thank you so much for being part of the 100.
Yes, so
Pleasantly Rebellious.
Great, thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Kiln Road Trip. Be sure to follow along on the rest of the journey, and you can do that in two ways. One, subscribe to the podcast, whether you're listening on Apple, Spotify, or maybe even watching on YouTube, and follow along on all of our social media platforms, whether you're on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or TikTok, @the Swell Pod. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next episode.